Dr. Severin Schwan, you're the CEO of the Roche Group. It's a Swiss-founded pharmaceutical company now acting global. And you have more than 80,000 employees, so it's a big company. You're visiting the Netherlands. What brought you here?
Innovation. Our company is really about innovation. We are focused on pharmaceuticals and on diagnostics. It's all about bringing new, better medicines and diagnostics to the market. And as such, we depend on better approaches, new innovative approaches. And the Netherlands is such an innovative country. It's cutting edge in terms of science. We have many collaborations with academic institutions here. But it's also cutting edge in terms of working together with other stakeholders, be it insurance companies, hospitals, physicians. So that's what really brings me here.
Okay. Innovation brings you to the Netherlands. Are you come to get it, or are you come to bring it?
Both, actually. Both. It's a mutual relationship. I hope that we can contribute to better healthcare with our medicines, with our diagnostics, but at the same time we get back a lot. We get back the experience from the medical community, and we can tap into the enormous know-how and the expertise here in the Netherlands. And that's why we have many collaborations in the Netherlands, also with the global organization. So it's really two ways, both directions.
You talk to healthcare leaders in the Netherlands. What did you discuss about innovation? Can you give some examples?
We talked, of course, about our medicines, about specific franchises we are active in. We are the world market leader in oncology, so there was a lot of discussion about our cancer drugs. We did speak about new diagnostic platforms which we bring to the market, and we spoke a lot about how can we work together to make healthcare costs sustainable in the country, because the one side of it is bringing innovation to the market, the other side of it is to pay for it, and we need an approach which is sustainable. So it was also a lot about pricing and finding new innovative ways to keep it sustainable. Innovation
can bring higher quality of care, can bring more safety, but always also is said that it's raising the costs. Is that true?
Certainly what we see in all developing markets in the world, not only in the Netherlands, is that for demographic reasons, healthcare costs are going up. So if you look at what we spend as a society for healthcare over the years, that has increased. In the Netherlands, it's about 13% of the GDP. And the experts agree that there is only one trend, and this will further increase. And therefore it's so important that we provide innovation, because in the long term I'm convinced that only if we have new, creative, innovative ways to tackle healthcare, we can also keep the cost sustainable.
What is new about, what is innovative about the approach of Roche of the challenges of 2013, 2014 and further future?
Right. As we go forward, actually we start to much better understand the biology of diseases. And we also understand much better why certain patients are responding to a specific treatment and other patients are not responding. And that allows us to target medicines in a much better way. And therefore I think one of the pillars to make healthcare more effective as we go forward is to combine diagnostics and pharma. So to do the diagnostic first, then have a very targeted treatment. I think that is good for patients, but that also helps to save a lot of cost.
And the combination of diagnostics on the one side and pharmaceutical industry on the other side, is that unique about Roche?
What is unique about Roche is that we have the expertise and the capabilities of both pharma and diagnostics under one roof. And that allows us to work in a very free and smooth way between the two areas and to leverage the synergies. That is unique about Roche. If you have to work as a pharma company independently with a third-party company in diagnostics, especially at the early phase of research and development, this is not so easy because there is confidentiality issues. There is questions of intellectual property. So you need lots of lawyers. You need lots of contracts to make it work. If you have all within one company under one roof, of course, this is a much smoother progress, and that is unique about Roche.
I understand it. The approach is also what's called personalized healthcare,
Yes.
personalized medicine. What does Roche and what do you mean by that?
What we mean by personalized healthcare is that we target medicines to those patients where they actually work. And the way we do it is we look for specific what we call biomarkers, if you like, a specific diagnosis where we see whether the drug works or doesn't work. An example of one of those medicines is Herceptin. So Herceptin is for breast cancer, but it only works for about 15 to 20% of women who have breast cancer who have a very specific mutation and a very specific protein on the cancer cell. And if this protein is there, then the medicine works. If the protein is not there, then the medicine doesn't work. And like that, we can target this medicine to a specific subpopulation of patients rather than giving it to anybody.
Okay. And what's the effect on the results of treatment?
This is a very important and a very effective medicine. So in early breast cancer, due to these new targeted medicines, we can start to talk about cure, literally about cure. This is not yet the case for metastatic breast cancer. When the cancer has already spread, then we can prolong life. But in early breast cancer, we can now literally talk about cure, and that is huge progress. I mean, 20 years ago, this diagnosis was a death sentence for women, and today we have these treatment options, which is fantastic.
Some some women are cured, some have a chronic disease, in fact. Do you share these insights and this progress with Dutch healthcare?
Yes, certainly the oncologists are very aware of that, and they are very grateful to have these new medicines to help patients. And of course, we are in close contact with other stakeholders. We're in close contact with the payers, with the insurers, governments, also to make clear what the value of such innovation is.
Besides that, personalized healthcare, more effective medicine, what could you as a pharmaceutical diagnostical company do to lower costs and make higher quality in healthcare?
I think it is really about innovation, and it is about excellence in science. The better you understand the disease biology, the more you invest into science and work together with the experts in the field, the more likely you will develop medicines which make a real difference for patients. And I think this is our biggest contribution we can make.
Mr. Schwan, what are the main challenges of the Dutch healthcare system, according to you?
Well, first of all, let me clearly state the Netherlands has one of the best healthcare systems in the world. What we see, however, today is an enormous pressure on the overall healthcare budget. So the challenge will be that we keep this high standard of healthcare and that we keep this universal access to healthcare whilst making it sustainable from a cost point of view. And that needs a close collaboration of all the stakeholders.
Okay. And do you have very concrete measures, for instance, the Dutch government could take to do that?
Yeah, one contribution we can make, for example, is that we really have a more flexible pricing for our medicines, so that we get value for medicines if patients respond. But on the other hand, if a patient doesn't respond, that the insurance company does not have to pay. This is very different to the models today, because today we sell a pill, whether it works or whether it doesn't work. We would be very open to introduce more creative pricing models where we say we actually only ask to be paid if the medicine actually works.
No cure, no pay.
No cure, no pay, and the other way around. If we can make a difference, then we should also have this value rewarded.
Okay. That's the contribution you could make as an industry. What could government do?
Well, good healthcare, of course, is not only about medicines. You need a good infrastructure, you need good hospitals, you need a good primary care infrastructure. You need good awareness in the population, how to prevent diseases, for example. So there are many aspects, and they have all to be balanced out. If there is one thing I would say where typically governments are a bit slow, is in the prevention of diseases. Typically it is much, much cheaper and much, much more effective from a medical point of view to prevent a disease rather than to treat a disease. And if I was healthcare minister, I would make shifts of the resources from treatment to prevention. I would probably spend much more for early diagnostic, for screening of diseases, rather than having heavy expenses for treating people who get severely ill.
What would be your business model for that?
Yeah, I think we need a more holistic view that we look at people, from birth up to when they get older, and many diseases could be prevented if people are more aware of how to prevent diseases, if we do screening, if we do early diagnosis. And I think this is a big weakness of the system today. We spend all the, I would put it like this. Today we always say it's healthcare ministers, but it's not healthcare ministers. It is disease ministers. The healthcare ministers are not taking care of the people to stay healthy. They take care of the people who have already gotten sick. And if we can get a shift here, I think that would be a huge benefit.
They should be health ministers.
Yeah. It's what one of the problems is? I think everybody conceptually agrees that it is much cheaper and much more effective if you prevent a disease rather than treating a disease. The problem is the political cycle. Because if you start preventing a disease, then you see the effect perhaps in 10 or 20 years. And this effect might not be relevant anymore for the politician who is in charge. Whereas if you do something now and today for people who are very sick, then you get much more credit for it as a politician. And politicians typically, they look at what the voters want. And if they feel that they get more credit for treating sick people rather than taking care of the healthy people, I don't think we will have a shift. Yeah. So it needs a general change of attitude in our societies.
And finally, something about you. At 42, you became the CEO of a very big international company with more than 80,000 employees. How did you do that?
I didn't think so much about my career, and I didn't plan it. There was always an interesting task, a new challenge, and somehow this career developed. And I was offered many opportunities in different functions and in different countries, and then suddenly.
And also in different companies, or you always started at Roche?
I started with Roche and always stayed with Roche. And actually, if you would have asked me at the time when I started as a trainee, I would have almost been embarrassed to say that I will only work for one company. And I certainly didn't plan to get CEO at Roche. But as I said, I was offered new challenges in different functions in different countries, and I never could even think about leaving the company. Always got a new challenge beforehand, and then suddenly I ended up as CEO, I guess.
Okay, and you studied economy, you studied law, and now you're talking about the impact of biology.
Yes. It's true. Today I spend much more time with scientists and biologists than I would spend with economists and lawyers. At the end of the day, this business is about understanding diseases, understanding the secret of life, biology. And even though I'm not a scientist, and even though I'm not working in a lab on a daily basis, I think also for me it's very important to have a general understanding of what is going on in the different areas, and then hopefully provide an environment to foster the innovation we need.
Mr. Schwan, could you give an example of an innovation you heard about these days in the Netherlands?
There's an example I'm very excited about here in the Netherlands, where the Netherlands is really at the cutting edge, and that is in the area of screening for cervical cancer. So traditionally, the screening was done by pap smears, and that has improved actually the detection of cervical cancer a lot. But in the meantime, there are more modern diagnostic tools. We screen for a specific virus, which is called HPV. And this technology is much more sensitive. And as a result of that, you detect cervical cancers with many more women than with the traditional method. I was very excited to see that the Netherlands is now considering to switch to what we call primary screening for HPV testing, which I think is a huge benefit for patients. I think it will actually reduce healthcare cost over time in the longer term, and it is certainly a brilliant example for the rest of the world. And I'm sure if this comes true, many countries will look at what is going on in the Netherlands and will actually adopt similar policies.
So this is possible in healthcare. Who has to decide about it? Are we going to do it like this?
I think what was very important to get this going was a clinical trial. So at the base, we have done a huge clinical trial, which is called Athena, where 45,000 women were enrolled. And it clearly showed that HPV screening is better than the traditional diagnostics. I think that was the basis. And then, of course, it was very much the interaction with the oncologists, with the medical community, who were interested to benefit from this new testing. We have been talking with insurers, we have been talking with the government, and over time we have now established a consensus that this is actually good for patients and that is good for the society overall.
Does it mean that it's going to happen, that it's going to be implemented everywhere in healthcare?
I very much hope so. I very much hope so that we can start it here in the Netherlands, and I'm convinced that other countries will follow.
What does it depend on?
It depends on a willingness to think long term, because if you do primary screening, initially you have cost. Prevention always means that you save cost and a lot of suffering from patients in the future. So I think the prime success factor is that people think in the longer term.